Hello everyone, I hope you had a great day. Today we are looking at some new malicious compliance stories. I hope you enjoy them. If you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button, it really helps the channel to grow. And if you are new here, welcome. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content. And now let's start with the first story, shall we? The first story is called Just Leave. I used to work at a small manufacturing plant in the shipping department up until a few months ago. Now, the thing about this plant is that due to some well-intentioned mishandling by the previous owner, the plant is currently owned by the bank. Because of that, the plant manager doesn't really know too much about the day-to-day running of the plant. He mostly just makes sure the plant isn't losing the bank any money until a buyer can be found. Thankfully, there was a good floor manager and a good shipping manager to cover the shortcomings. Then the plant closed down for a bit. When we reopened, we learned that the floor manager is retiring immediately and won't be returning. That means the plant manager is now the floor manager as well. Additionally, all other managers and office staff are now working from home. So, on top of being the floor manager, the plant manager now needs to handle any issues that arise that are too pressing to contact someone off-site. The structure of the shipping department is this. There's the shipping manager who is now working from home. There's the shipping supervisor who comes in early and leaves around 3ish. And then there's me. I came in around 10 and left when the last truck to be loaded came. Meaning that after 3ish, I am the de facto head of shipping. On to the malicious compliance. At some point I could see the writing on the wall. Layoffs were coming. It was very possible that the whole plant was closing. So I needed something more stable and found another job. I hadn't given my 2 weeks yet because it wasn't set in stone yet. May as well have been, but until I have a piece of paper or email that says I have the job, I don't have the job. I had one coworker on the production floor who liked to push my buttons. I'm typically not the type of person whose button you want to push. I'm not particularly imposing, but I've been told by guys twice my size that when I get mad, I'm scary. Anyways, on this particular day, he decides that the best way to push said buttons would be to walk into the forklift lane as I'm passing to grab product to ship. Multiple times I'm forced to slam on the brakes, causing me to spill a couple of loads. So eventually, I explode. I don't remember what was said, but I went off on this dude. The plant manager comes over, trying to quell the situation. As I explain the situation to him, I say something of the effect of, "I could have run him over. I still might." To which the plant manager responded with, "If you are going to be like that, just go." I looked at the clock and noticed it was close to 4, meaning if I left, no one was there to load the trucks. And while the physical act of loading a truck is simple enough, the system to record everything was not. And it wasn't something you could do later either. It needed to be recorded at the time of shipment. Naturally, I looked back to the plant manager and just blankly replied with an okay. I grabbed my things and left. The second I got to my car, I called my supervisor. He and I are really cool with each other. You could even say we are friends. He also hates the coworker in question and is not too fond of the plant manager. I told him what was going on and he told me that he was off the clock and doesn't deal with work stuff from home. He was basically telling me that he was with me without saying it. The shipping manager was the next call. Now she is one of the nicest women I have ever met. And she will defend her crew no matter what. And apparently, unbeknownst to me, she had started vacation the day prior and would also not be dealing with work stuff. Normally, she would absolutely deal with this, even on vacation. Now, both of them knew I was leaving and that I didn't care about the repercussions. The plant manager didn't. I don't know exactly what happened from there that day. But I do know that of the 12 trucks scheduled to ship, only 3 did. And that's because they showed up before I left. It's also worth noting that in our line of product, if something that was our fault causes the customer's production to shut down for any amount of time, the company gets fined. In the end, that coworker never did mess with me again, and the plant manager ended up being a lot nicer to me too. I ended up getting the new job and leaving, somewhere around a month after this happened. The next story is called That Was Enough For Me. I work with computers at my day job, so I type wicked fast. When I was a cashier, I was also lighting quick, which was a bonus during the holiday season with the long lines. I could go through my long line of customers and call over customers from other registers too. The salesmen, and yes, they were men, working on commissions were too good to ring up their own sales or to have their customers wait in line. So they would cut ahead of all the other customers who had been waiting. I would apologize profusely to those who waited, then have to stop and ring up the commission sales. But the inconvenience wasn't enough. I got an attitude when asking for the employee number to properly put the sale into the register. You should know that. You've done it before. Well, yes, about 3 months ago in the middle of a busy Saturday, and it didn't occur to me to memorize other people's employee numbers. So I just ring it up using my number. And I also did it for the next 20 or so transactions they butted in line to ring up. So a week goes by, and I get my check, and it is huge. As it happens, that previous weekend, during the holiday season, the store had a promotion, where the employees get an extra $1 in our check for every $100 we ring up. I did about 35k in sales that week. I did get a stern talking to about ringing up commission items without being a commission employee, and that they didn't have a way to pay me for those commissions because I was hourly. I then explained how I had to ring up the sales for that department, and how they had butted in my line to make me ring them up. The commissions guys were raising hell, and I get it, they needed their pay, and selling suits isn't easy. I wasn't trying to take their money, but the store policy was that they were supposed to ring up their own sales. The manager asked me if I could tell which sales went to which employees, and I honestly couldn't. It had been so busy and there were so many transactions that I couldn't remember from a week before. So the store did a little rough justice. They added up all the commission sales done on my register with no number assigned and split it evenly among the sales folks in that department. Maybe not fair, but better than no paycheck at all for those guys or giving it to me. But the store did let me keep the bonus for ringing in the sales. So the salesmen totally screwed themselves on multiple fronts. And they never came to my register to ring up anything again. That was enough for me. The third story is called Budget Restrictions. My old job was not exactly unique, and within my company alone we had around 5k people doing it. But what made my position different was that I worked solo in a location, whereas most people had teams of at least 5 or 6 people. The company decided that they were going to open another solo location due to the low overheads and high profits we tend to make. And so it was decided that I was going to get sent up to help, get it set up, as well as teaching the new starter the ropes you don't get shown in a team. My manager found a nice hotel 5 minutes walk from the location. He asked me if I was happy walking before booking it. It also included breakfast and tea, so the only extra budget would be for lunch. The problem started because it was £10 over his allowed budget. And so it had to be sent off to the cost center for approval. They of course checked hotels in the area for cheaper prices. As they found a few, they rejected the hotel and told my boss to find somewhere else. This is where the malicious compliance comes into play. He found a really nice hotel 20 minutes drive from the location and £1 below his budget. So he booked it for me, and this was accepted. However, the hotel did not include any food. The way the company works is that they will cover all food costs from the hotel as long as you have receipts. Because it was 20 minutes from the location and I could not drive at the time, taxis were also booked for me to take me to and from work. This ended up costing the company an extra £500 after paying for food and taxis. And I got to take full advantage of a 5-star hotel as well as having shorter days at work due to travel times. The next story is called No Local Food? I still work for the same company, just used to do a different job. A few years ago, part of my job was to travel around and install and repair equipment that we either leased or sold to other companies. I enjoyed the traveling, but still didn't want to be on the road for longer than necessary. If I was driving and within a couple of hours from home, I would drive through lunch, get close to home and get some fast food locally to take home and eat off the clock. I did this for a long time and no one ever said anything to me until one day I was called into HR with my boss. I was asked why I bought food on the company credit card in the same city where I live. I told them it was because I skipped lunch to get off the road sooner, and get off the clock is to not waste their money or the customers. They told me that I'm not allowed to do that anywhere close to home. So I asked how far out was not considered local. They gave me some vague description, but I had an idea. Since I got paid the entire time I was traveling, I decided to comply and would not eat near my city. Rather than get fast food and eat at home, I would stop at restaurants, sometimes fast food and sometimes a sit-down restaurant, take my time, eat and then get back on the road. This made it so I was still using the company credit card to pay for my food while still on the clock the entire time. In total, it probably added an hour or so to my traveling, counting getting off the road, finding somewhere to eat, ordering, eating and getting back on the road. I don't think they ever noticed, but they never mentioned it to me again. The last story is called I Got Complimented for Doing Less. This was about 15 years ago, and I imagine most of this work has now been outsourced to low-wage countries. My job was to screen hardware issues with desktop and laptop computers, mostly laptops. A person would call customer service, their problems would be written up. I would review the ticket, call the person if there are any uncertainties, and then write up a plan for an on-site engineer to follow. If I would determine the problem to be memory, but it ended up being the motherboard, this would be considered a return case, and we were strictly monitored on those. We were expected to be doing about 20 to 25 cases per day, and only have 1 or 2 return cases. Here's the thing though, I easily did 30 to 40 cases per day. I did this for about 8 months, and then I started to get negative feedback from my manager. He said my return cases were too high. Most of the time these were within the acceptable range, but sometimes there would be 3 or 4 per day. The fact that I did near double the cases I was expected to handle was never commented on. After receiving this feedback twice, I decided to change my daily routine. I logged onto my phone, I went for coffee and a chat. After about an hour, I do maybe 15 cases until lunch. I take my lunch break, have another coffee and chat, browse some things online, do some online courses or reading, do the remaining 5 to 10 cases and go home. Now I did the mandatory 20 to 25 cases per day and just left it at that. Fewer cases meant fewer mistakes. Problem solved. I got complimented by my manager that I managed to get my return cases down to only 1 per day on average. Of course, this job got boring fast and had no future prospects, so I went away from there not too long after. But I'll always remember this experience and vow to never work at such companies again. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.